All right, everybody, welcome to New York's #2 sports show. I know you hearing a different voice. You're probably a little confused, but it's producer Casey taking over the hosting responsibilities with, everybody's favorite Derek Fast. Derek, how's your week been so far?
Not too bad, Casey. Welcome back to the show. Excited for the NFL season to kick off. I'll tell you that much.
It's here,
our
man.
Yankees have been kind of on one in all the wrong ways. So, a little bit of diversion to the football world is kind of a welcome sight, even though our teams have not exactly been all that good for the last decade plus. But
it's been rough.
Yeah.
It's been rough, but yeah, I mean, this Yankees season has, it's certainly been entertaining if you want to try and spin it in some kind of positive light here. But, I'm sure we'll, be talking about that at some point down the road here. But we figured today, let's just preview this NFL season coming up. We're recording right now, Friday afternoon. So we have our first preseason games for Jets and Giants coming up tomorrow. Super excited about that, just to kind of see what these teams look like. So we figured, let's kind of go look at the schedules for both teams and, maybe just also preview some of the other divisions in the NFL and kind of just, for fun, just kind of, see what each other kind of feels like the direction of some of these divisions are going to go. But yeah, I mean, I guess let's just start out with, the Giants, as that's what you cover predominantly on the channel in terms of the football. So, anything at a training camp that you've been seeing that, has been encouraging for you? Obviously last year was what it was and, seems like a make it or break it year for Dable. But yeah, just curious what you've been seeing.
Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting season. Look, I think that there's obviously a lot of excitement around Abdul Carter and what he can bring to the defense. And that's going to be their way of winning football games. Is it's going to have to be off the defense and it's going to have to be off of the pass rush with some of those edge rushers. And of course, there's Dexter Lawrence as well. Between Lawrence and Burns and Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau as well, who, you're kind of looking for a little bit of a bounce back from him. Like, they are going to have to get to the quarterback because there are plenty of holes on this team. But as we look forward to the preseason, it is Jackson Dart who is the storyline. And look, I hope he does great. Obviously, I want to be a believer in Jackson Dart. They drafted him, trading up into the back end, if you will, of the first round. And so as far as the preseason goes, I'm probably as excited for these preseason games since probably Daniel Jones' rookie year. Whenever you get that first round rookie quarterback, I feel like, if nothing else, there's entertainment value there. All that said, this is a very tough division. Arguably, and we'll discuss the different divisions in the league, but while I think that there could be some regression a little bit within the NFC, it's still a very strong division. And so odds are the Giants could very well finish and last in the division, even though I think that, between Malik Neighbors, in his second year, and I already mentioned Carter, there is some young talent that's kind of brewing on this team, but Brian Dable and Joe Shane, their futures are very much in doubt, and this is a make or break year for them. So I think the Giants, while they're not going to be one of the better teams record-wise in the league, I think that there's, from a storyline standpoint, there's a lot of interesting, sort of subplots.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there certainly seems like it's going to be, it looks like it's trending upward, in terms of how much more, how upward it can go remains to be seen. Obviously, Russell Wilson too in the mix. I mean, he'll be starting at least the first few couple weeks here. But I guess we'll see what happens after that. Kind of looking to your schedule here with the Giants, just at first glance here, I'm kind of looking at this for the first time, but it looks like you guys are playing the entirety of the AFC West and the NFC North. Which looks like those are, going to be pretty tough divisions. That's one thing that's not boding in your favor, at least as it pertains to Russell Wilson. Maybe, there's this spark this reigniting of Russell Wilson here to start things off. But yeah, I mean, I guess you want to just kind of go down the schedule here and see how we're feeling here. So
yeah. Let's try to like go through it, like, and we can go win-loss if we want, or we can kind of just go about like how the feel. And it's hard to project out. Obviously, so many things can happen. But just kind of the feeling and the trends and things like that, I think will be good.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned, Casey, like Russell Wilson, he is the starting quarterback for sure. There is no competition there. Of course, you have Jackson Dart in the QB room, as well as Jameis Winston. And like his role is kind of one. I'm curious as far as like how he may or may not factor in. And then there is Tommy DeVito as well, which I don't think that I would like to think that he won't be any factor at all. I don't even think he'll be. I mean, if we're up to me, he shouldn't even be on the roster.
I would.
After
that's what I would say.
Cups.
Yeah, exactly. As a Jet fan, just kind of watching from afar, still don't really understand why he's with you guys. But that's
it's Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah.
But our Syracuse guy.
True.
But very interesting start to the season where, it's difficult. And I feel like that's kind of been a theme for Giants schedules in a lot of ways, just the way it's kind of laid out. But want to kind of pinpoint on the first two at Washington, at Dallas. I mean, so you got huge. 2 road games in division. Like, and I've been quick to kind of like, I wouldn't even call it jumping off the bandwagon, but just being realistic about it and kind of how they look and the chances of making the playoffs and just, there's been a lot of rooting against the Giants for me in previous seasons. I don't want that to be the case again, but these first 2 games will go a long way. And with Washington, that's the one team in the division the Giants have always been at the very least competitive with. Now, they did lose both games last year. Jaden Daniels was a rookie, and but the games, both of them, I mean, they should have probably won that game at Washington. It was week 2 last year. This is week 1.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be an interesting game to start. And then at Dallas in week 2, a rare 4:25 p.m. primetime game. It's
good
a 1 o'clock game at Dallas.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last Giant Cowboy game, especially in Dallas, that was a 1 o'clock. In some ways it means nothing at all. In other ways, like I think it's a slight.
I was going to say,
because we seem to always lose those games.
Yeah, and it almost speaks to the fact that the Giants have been so bad these last few years that they're actually the NFL is like, even though these are huge markets, we're actually going to relegate this to the 1 p.m. slot.
Yes,
which is it is telling in a regard in that regard. So
it is. Side note, they are going to have the #1 Fox crew for Giants Commanders 1 o'clock with Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady, which I didn't give it a big look, but it found that interesting. If nothing else.
That is.
So they're, maybe Fox doesn't have, I mean, it's a decent game. I don't know that it's one that necessarily is going to catch the nation's attention fully, but so with those first 2 games, you have to find a way. I'm not saying it's going to be easy because it's not. No. And there's a good chance you're going to lose both, but I really hope that they can find a way to at least split those 2. Just in recent years, the Giants have gotten off to such horrible starts with terrible week 1s. Let's take it back, and it dates back further. It really does. It dates back, honestly, for more than a decade, but let's keep it a little more recent. 2021, home against Denver. It was a Teddy Bridgewater-led Denver team at MetLife Stadium. Giants got basically killed. Then you go next year, and then the Giants it was a bad season. It was Joe Judge's second and final year as Giant coach. Then in 2022, week 1, a surprising win at the Tennessee Titans, a comeback victory, which kind of set them off on what was an unlikely playoff run.
Yeah, right. You guys beat the Ravens. I think maybe that was the next game or a couple games later.
A couple weeks later.
But still, I remember that pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last couple of years, you have the disaster in 2023 on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys in the rain, just like 40-0. I think it was 40-0, which literally is embarrassing. And then last year, home against the Vikings against Sam Darnold at MetLife Stadium as well. So maybe going on the road can do them some good because that game was in Tennessee. The point is, they need to get off to a good start. It is unacceptable that they basically have shit the bed on the early happenings of the regular season. So that'll be key. And then just to move from there as we try to kind of move through here. First home game of the year is a primetime one, Sunday Night Football, home against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is that 0-3 is a definite possibility, but
yeah,
I'm hoping again that you can win one of those first two games and at least go into that Chief game, go into the first home game, a Sunday night game with a little bit of juice, with a little bit of excitement there. Then they take on another AFC West foe, home again against the Chargers, who just lost Rashawn Slater, the left tackle for the season. Yeah. So that's a huge loss for them. Brutal. But this is around the time here where, like, Russell Wilson, he needs to do well because, you know, you basically have a regime, a front office that and coaching staff that is kind of on the hot seat as well. You have a first-round rookie quarterback. And you also do have Jameis Winston on the roster, who is, if nothing else, a very popular quarterback. And it is one that he's like kind of the polar opposite of Russell Wilson as far as like play style.
True. Yeah.
I think that right around that week, in between week 4 to week 6, I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Giants' record is at that point, to see, you know, if Russell Wilson's going to keep that job. Week 5 is probably one of their easiest games on the schedule at New Orleans, who it's probably going to be a pretty – now, playing in New Orleans historically has not been an easy thing, but this team isn't what they used to be. This is no longer the Sean Payton, Drew Brees Saint teams, obviously. And then you have a Thursday night football game against the Philadelphia Eagles. So, you know, Saquon Barkley will probably, you know, go for a buck 50 and a couple touchdowns at least.
Another revenge game, yeah.
Yeah. So – you know, that's kind of your first 6 weeks right there.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's a pretty brutal stretch. I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm just like, man, it's tough. I mean, the only thing that I feel like is going in your guys' favor is that there's a little bit of dysfunction right now in Washington and Dallas. Granted, we are in the preseason right now, but I'm just saying, like, Terry McLaurin is still holding out. Deebo Samuel, you know, he's a new addition, but obviously his weight and conditioning has been, you know, at least a talk within the media landscape. You know, and obviously, you know, last year, right, CJ Stroud, that was his sophomore year. He had a little bit of a dip. You know, the same thing could potentially happen with Jaden Daniels, especially week 1, you know, trying to figure out, you know, just the way that this, you know, new team is operating here. I mean, I would say that just as someone that's on the outside looking in, I feel like if you were going to steal one of these games, I could see it happening week 1 against Washington, just because your defense is so stout and maybe, you know, that Jaden Daniels offense isn't quite up to par yet. But I'm curious what you think.
I tend to agree with that. Yeah. I think that Washington could probably be had.
Yeah. And same thing with Dallas too, in a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously, I mean their receivers are pretty locked in, but you know, the whole factor with Micah Parsons and stuff like that, I mean, that could bleed over. But I would say that it would be more the Commanders. More so.
I mean, and honestly, I'm sure when it comes out, like I think Washington, I think I saw they're about like a 6.5 point favorite. Giants, Dallas, you know, obviously there's week 1 information to be learned that could factor into that week 2 betting line, but you know, it'll probably be somewhere in that range as well, right? So, but I do agree with you, Casey. I think that Washington would be, and week 1 we've seen. I mean,
weird stuff happens week 1.
Like the Patriots went to Cincinnati,
right, beat them,
and knocked off the Bengals last year. So week 1, crazy shit can happen as well.
100%.
So, I do think that would be more likely. I could maybe see the Giants winning that game.
I could
at
see
the very
that.
least. I think that it'll be a close game. I do think that. Could it be a heartbreaking loss? Possibly.
Yeah. I'm thinking ideally here, you know, we're talking completely optimistic here, but yeah, you beat the Commanders. We'll just say you lose to Dallas, you lose to the Chiefs, but I could see you guys beating the Chargers just because the Chargers always charger, and, you know, Justin Herbert is so inconsistent. You know, you might get lucky and kind of it fall in a certain way where the Chargers just having one of these like weird off weeks. And then you guys could be 2-2 by 4 weeks in. And I think most Giant fans would be pretty happy with that going into the Saints.
I think that is pretty possible. And then as well, you have that 1:00 Charger game, and it's notorious. It's that those Western teams going east for those 1:00 games. Those can be tricky.
100%
as well. So that's a little bit of a break too.
Yeah.
I think for the Giants in that situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it isn't crazy to say that they could maybe be if the stars align.
Yeah.
They could maybe be 3-2 through 5 weeks. I'm not saying that will happen, but like you just have to survive that like first 3-game gauntlet.
100%. And look, I mean, last year with the Steelers too, Russell Wilson was pretty locked in for the first half of that season, throwing those deep bombs. So, if him and Neighbors can get some kind of chemistry going early on and he can just fucking throw it up there and Neighbors is going to grab it, who knows? I mean, that could get you guys a couple wins that you weren't expecting. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's, it's an leaning optimistically here, but I could definitely see you guys being 3-2 through week 5 after beating the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, definitely on the optimistic lean there, but you have a little bit of a pocket,
not too crazy,
right? A little bit of like that week 4 or 5. Like, I mean, the Chargers, like, will they be? I don't know. Again, it's hard to say with it being week 4, but it's certainly a winnable. You could very easily. That is, I mean, to that point. That is the easiest game. It's much easier than the first 3 games.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Like to kind of get back to where we were, after that Saints game, you have that quick Thursday night Eagle turnaround, which, that's going to be tough. I mean, as a matter of fact, you play the Eagles 2 of 3 weeks. That's landed a lot lately. More so late.
I was going to say it's always like week 14 and 16 or something.
It's very condensed with these Eagle games. I don't know why that's been, but it feels like that's been a kind of a thing.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
A bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going at Denver in between that, Denver's a tough place, with the altitude. It's a tough place to play.
Yeah.
Bo Nix, you could certainly see him kind of maybe taking a step back this year. Like Denver, it's not as if you couldn't beat Denver. But the other thing too is a lot of just kind of picking up on some trends in the schedule. Very early AFC West action where you basically your first 7 games, 3 of them are against the AFC West and 3 against. I mean, NFC East makes more sense. You play obviously each team twice, but
even still, I mean, it's like it's a lot of bunching up, like you kind of mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of a tough, right? Like, so as much as maybe, let's say you do go 3-2, then then
those 3,
maybe you squeak a win there, like at Denver, possibly, like you're kind of, if we could be 4-4 through 8 games, I'll sign up for that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
But then it's like right after that little stretch, then you got the 49ers who, yes, they definitely didn't have a great season last year, but you think that they're going to rebound somewhat here and be a formidable team. So that's going to be a tough match. Then you got the Bears. You're going to Chicago. I mean, they're a bit of a question mark, and they're always a little bit dysfunctional, but, they're being hyped up quite a lot, especially with Ben Johnson being the new head coach and stuff like that. How do you feel about that game?
Yeah, so here you have so now you're done with that Eagle, those you're done with the Eagles, and now you're kind of into sort of the second half of your schedule. And San Francisco, you would expect them to have a bounce back this year. Like I said before, you do have that 1:00 West Coast team coming in. Maybe again that can work in the Giants' favor as maybe it could against the Chargers.
Yeah. That's true.
And then it's weird. You then have a stretch of 3 straight NFC North squads. Like it's weird how the schedule works like that.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden it's at Chicago, home against Green Bay, and at Detroit, which is a really, really tough stretch. I don't know. Chicago's interesting, right? They're there's a lot of potential there, but Chicago, hasn't done a whole lot of winning lately.
Yeah.
So there could be a win there. I don't know, at Chicago and home against Green Bay, I could see there being a win between one of those 2 games.
Me too. Yeah.
But it's difficult. I mean, Green Bay should be a really good team. At Detroit, I mean, we're not going to win that one. I'd be shocked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Giants at Detroit. That's going to be real difficult. For sure.
That'll definitely be a Survivor League. That'll be one of those for some people.
Yes. If you still have Detroit left,
if you still have them left,
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Maybe Detroit is kind of a look. Is maybe they look ahead to Thanksgiving. That's Sunday, November 23rd.
That's a good point.
Detroit kind of looks past the Giants and takes them lightly going into the
You got to consider every factor, man. It's football. Every factor somehow it factors in. Yeah.
I'm trying to look at everything
for real.
Look at when the game is, the time of the game.
That's a good way to look at it, man. Yeah.
And then you have a Monday night game at New England. Interesting Monday night choice. I mean, Giants Patriots, but Giants at New England before the bye week, a very late bye for the Giants, week 14. But that is a winnable game. I think New England is a team that's on the rise a bit. I think Mike Vrabel was a pretty solid hire, former Patriot player, of course. And, Drake May in year 2, but obviously a winnable game for the Giants. And I guess this is the point here where Jackson Dart, 13 games in, you see where it is. And let's say everyone's healthy, right? Because injuries can be a factor which changes all the plans. But this is where Jackson Dart, the final 4 games, I could very, very easily, if not before that, I could see him taking over at this point.
Yeah. Especially because, it slightly lessens up a little bit. There's a couple, like you said, if he starts against the Patriots, I know a lot of people think that the Pats are going to be better this year, but who knows? You know what I mean? It's not a given by any means. But then, you got Commanders again, Vikings. I guess they're all tough. But the 3, we'll see where the Giants are at this point. 3 of the last 4 games at home. Which is, let me see here. So the extra game that the Giants play in the AFC ended up being New England out of the AFC East, because they both finished last in their respective divisions. So the point there is your first 13 games, 9 of the let me see if I'm getting this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of those first 13 are on the road. That's a pretty significant amount. Yeah. So if you could somehow survive it, Giants have not been a good team at MetLife Stadium, really, it feels like ever. None of the teams have.
But, you get Washington for the second time. You get the Vikings, and we'll see, what they do this year. I'd expect them to not be as, last year they were really, really a great regular season team.
Yeah. 14 wins, crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then at the Raiders, that might be that could be a Saturday game. That's one of those second to last week of the season. They had 5 games that they put aside. That 3 of those 5 will be Saturday games, and then the other 2 will just fall back into the Sunday slate. Yeah. So Giants Raiders, we'll see whether that's Saturday or Sunday. We'll see, with the Pete Carroll Geno Smith combination, how that's going at that point late in the season.
Yeah.
And then you finish off with the Cowboys. So, a lot of time in between, really both the Washington games, but even more so Dallas, week 2 on September 14th. And then, after the new year, the last week of the season. So, a really, really tough schedule for sure.
For sure. And I feel like it's been a long time, at least, from what I can recall, that you guys played Dallas the last week of the season. I feel like those games are always kind of somewhat in the middle of the season, just in terms of, relevancy and kind of what we were alluding to earlier about, the primetime nature of them. But I guess kind of like what we were saying, that maybe because the Giants have been underperforming these last couple of years, I guess they're not really, marketing these these Dallas Giant games as much as they have in the past. You know what I mean? I feel like even with Daniel Jones, there's always been a Sunday night football with the Cowboys. But
or a Thursday
night, some kind of primetime game. So, it'll be interesting. I feel like you guys are going to be better this year. Now, how much better? I don't know. Maybe 3 wins better, but I guess, I have some hope that, these acquisitions on defense and stuff like that, you're, reestablishing that identity. And hopefully, Jackson Dart can become something special here. I mean, it seems like everyone's raving about him at camp, what I hear on the radio and stuff like that on WFAN. It seems like a lot of people are very high on him. So we'll see, man. I mean, it would be great to have the Giants be, more more relevant in the NFL world post November. It would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, like we've been out of it, and I mean, like really, like honestly, when the clock strikes October, it's over. I mean,
right, because you guys are 0-4, yeah. So
I mean, it's just so bad immediately that it would be great. And one other note, Andrew Thomas is expected to be back by week 1.
Great.
I hope that is the case, because without Andrew Thomas, I mean that's a major problem for that offensive line.
Yeah.
So really, really hoping that he is going to be all recovered and ready to go after he missed. Probably more than half of last season, and coming off surgery. So that's going to be really important. And if I were to give a prediction on the record, I agree. I think this Giants team is a little bit improved upon last year's team. Just that schedule, it's really, really, really difficult. Yeah. There's just no way around it. It's probably one of the more difficult schedules in all of football.
It really is, especially that first half. Those first 6 games. I mean, it's like, even more than that, because to me, that back to like the having the Eagles, in twice in 3 weeks. You know when I look
at it, you have like a 3-game the first tough 3-game stretch.
Yeah.
Then you have like this like Eagle stretch, and then like that NFC North situation going
NFC
on
North stretch, right?
in November.
Yep. Yeah.
It's another I guess. Yeah, I mean, there's no. It's going to be difficult. I'm going to say, I'll go 6-11, which honestly, it's not a fun place to be. 6-11, because it, not that it's total no man's land. You should get a decent draft pick out of that, but I'll say 6-11, but maybe more leaning on the 7-10 side than 5-12. Like if I had to kind of go one way or another, so I'll say 6-11. Maybe 7-10 if things break right.
Now, do you think if they go 6-11, Mara's going to keep the regime?
That's the great question.
I mean, I guess it just depends on how everything shakes out. But
how does Jackson if Jackson Dart makes strides and like shows that he can be something, that probably helps their cause.
Right. Because Dayball's like the QB whisperer still, know. Yeah.
And how do they look as well? Like, are they like this, like sort of like gritty, hardworking bunch that kind of just like, how does the 6-11 look exactly?
Yeah. Because it does seem like Mara does like these guys, because I feel like if he really, obviously he could have easily fired them last year. So I feel like he's really trying to give these guys, as much of a legitimate chance as he possibly could. So. Yeah, I guess you're right. If they end up going 6-11, but 2 of those losses were 1-score games that just came down to some BS call by the refs or whatever. Jackson Dart maybe like a rookie mistake or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he would probably lean towards keeping them. But like you said, there's so much at play here. Obviously, this is, we're still in early August here, so we're kind of assuming a lot. Yeah. But I guess that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I think with this team, it's hard. There's been so many, it feels like 3-win, 4-win type seasons that, but we will get a really, really good sense early. I really think those first 2-3 weeks, it has set a tone for the Giants. The only 2 years that they've made the playoffs in recent memory was 2016 and 2022. And in both of those cases, they got off to a good start.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then if they don't, it's a full-on disaster, and they're never even in it. Like the Giants, I guess the only time that they ended up working their way in it was that weird 2020 year where they actually got off to, like, I believe, about an 0-6 start, because the NFC East was so bad. They actually did play some fairly relevant games down the stretch. That was, of course, the year that that Washington beat the Eagles in the last game of the season, where the Eagles basically just threw the game.
Right, Doug Peterson's last game as
the
a
Giants'
coach.
final record was like 6-10.
Yeah, wow.
What was that?
I was saying that was Doug Peterson's last game. Yeah. Wow.
Like it's either the Giants make the playoffs in the rare occasions, or they are completely out of it.
Right.
So
right. And even that year that you were referring to with Doug Peterson, it's like you guys really shouldn't have been.
Of course not. Of course not.
But,
we were 6-10.
It's crazy.
Like if the Eagles won that game, we would have made the playoffs as a 6-10 team.
That's insane. I mean, yeah, that is the record because I don't think I've ever heard of anything.
I don't think so.
There's nothing. I've never heard of a 6-win team making it. Yeah, crazy though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe at 6-9-1. Yeah, like 6-10 feels
that's
crazy.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, so trending in the right direction, I guess. Even though it's still 6-11, as you were saying, for because
that would be what 3 games. That'd be 3 games better.
Hey, that's pretty good. A lot of people.
I just want to root for this team.
Yeah.
I like when they show those graphics. Just let us be in the hunt.
Yeah.
Why can't we be like 5-6 at one point?
Exactly. And I mean,
why does it have to be 3-9 or 2-10? Why does it have to be like that?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Daniel Jones is, credited for a lot of those losses because of his ineptitude. So let's see if Russell Wilson can like just keep the ship afloat. And then, hopefully Jackson Dart can somehow come into the mix a little bit later on just to see what he's got, I guess.
And I think that we're going to see Jameis at some point.
Yeah, you probably will. And you'll probably have one game where he'll throw like 400 yards and 4 touchdowns just because that's what he does. Yeah. But then the next week will be like 5 picks. But that's what he does. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Do you want to move over to your squad?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Jets have been awful for ever. We don't really cover the Jets on this channel, but we figured, this year maybe we change it up a little bit and also just kind of touch on the Jets, especially now because the Aaron Rodgers saga is kind of over with, and it's a brand new clean slate, new head coach, new GM, everything is brand new. So, we're the channel, the New York's #2 sports show, we're going to take this opportunity here to start covering the Jets because maybe, it'll lend itself in a positive way here. We'll see. But things did get off to a rocky start because Justin Fields, dislocated his toe, which everyone thought was going to be like an ACL injury. I mean, the way that everyone was freaking out about it and making it like a doomsday scenario. Luckily, it was just the dislocated toe and he seems to be okay. However, reports at training camp are saying that he is definitely struggling with his accuracy and throwing the ball. But look, it's early and it's a new system. And, I, as a Jet fan, I'm not going to freak out too much about it. I'm really trying to be positive this year because it has been a fucking rough stretch. I'm actually in the process of writing a parody song about how awful the Jets have been the last 14 years. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I mean, looking ahead to this season here, just kind of going down the line here. So it looks like for us, the Jets, we're going to be playing the AFC North and the NFC South in their entirety, and then going to be playing the Cowboys for that extra 17th game where we're going to play an NFC team out of the division that we were assigned. So, it's a little bit easier, I will say, than the Giants, but, it's hard for me to say that with confidence because we are talking about the Jets here. And to kick things off, we, of course, because the NFL just loves drama, we're going to play Aaron Rodgers on his new team. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're actually coming to us, which I appreciate because it's going to be great hearing everyone boo Aaron Rodgers, especially after everything went down. So just kind of looking here, so it's Steelers. So so Steelers come to us, Bills come to us. Then we go on a little mini road trip to the Buccaneers and the Dolphins. Now, I feel like personally, to me, this matchup with Aaron Rodgers is like the classic, like the Jets are going to show up and we are going to kick ass against Aaron Rodgers. That's just how I feel. We're going to do well against Pittsburgh that first week, and everyone is going to be singing our praises week 1, and it's going to be like an Aaron Glenn is either, is he the next coach of the year? Oh my God, the Jets have turned it around. Oh my God. But then, here we go with week 2, and here's Buffalo that comes in, and I just feel like Josh Allen and them, they're just... obviously they're Super Bowl or bust. So to me, they're going to come in and kind of take care of business with us. I would think. Now, look, the past couple of years, we have been able to squeak out a victory against Buffalo. We do tend to play them hard overall. So, I mean, there is that to consider here. But I feel like, the way that my head is going as a Jet fan, I feel like we'll steal game 1 against Pittsburgh, but then we'll lay an egg in week 2 against the Bills. Now, this is where the schedule, I feel like you can kind of sway yourself as a Jet fan that's trying to think optimistically here, that we could reel off a couple wins here, potentially. Now, we're going to Tampa Bay. Obviously, Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans is there. Godwin is still hurt. I don't know if Godwin's going to – I don't know what's up with him. He seems like he might be done for a little while here. But whatever. They've been consistently good for the last couple of years. So I could definitely see us losing that game, especially down in Tampa and in the sweltering heat. And, this is still, this is September, this is week 3 here. So it's still going to be pretty damn hot down in Florida for them. And I worry about that a little bit, especially because the first 2 games were up in New York. So I'm going to just say we get a loss there. Then we go to Miami, which I feel like is the team that everybody this year is saying is going to take a huge dip and is not going to be good. But, that when people say that kind of stuff, you could just see like my pessimism as a Jet fan. But it's like, I just feel like the Dolphins are probably going to play us hard, or there's going to just be some stupid, like, Sauce Gardner misses a tackle on Jalen Waddle and he breaks it for a touchdown and that ends the game there. So I'm having a little bit of trepidation picking that one. But all right, Monday Night Football as well. Good point right there. So okay, so I'm saying that they're going to beat the Steelers. So they're going to be 1-2 going into that game. Yeah, I mean, I feel like even though the Dolphins are, it's tough, man. I guess the thing is with Justin Fields, like I feel like he is such a wild card. Like I don't really know what to expect out of him. I'm trying to think positively here, and especially with like the Garrett Wilson connection, the Ohio State thing. But it's just hard for me. So, all right, I'll just say they get a win here because I am going to try and be a little bit on the positive side. But then then you got then we go to then Dallas comes to us, which is actually the Cowboys coming to the Jets has actually been kind of troublesome for the Cowboys. I know we've reeled off a couple of wins the last couple of times Dak has come to MetLife against the Jets. So that could be interesting, but I still think the Cowboys are going to pull that through. Broncos. Everyone is also talking about this team as a team that's going to ascend this year, I guess because of Sean Payton and stuff like that, and another year with Bo Nix. So I will, and that one is in London. That's going to be one of the European games. So I'm going to say that's also going to be a loss. So not looking so great to start things off here. But I could see us beating the Panthers, even though I do think they'll be a little bit better this year as well. But I still think that they have a lot of work to do. So, I think we'll win against the Panthers. Then, then we got a game against the Bengals, who, as we talked about earlier, they lost that week 1 game to New England, and they are always a team that just does not seem to get their shit together right away. This is now obviously this is a few weeks, this is more than a few weeks into the season at this point. So maybe by this point they have their shit together. So we'll just say that's a loss. Then we got the Browns. Okay. I feel like I could, even as a Jet fan, could confidently say that we will pull that one out. But I guess anything is possible. I mean, who's going to be the quarterback for the Browns at that point? I don't think it's going to be Flacco. I guess it'll be Shedeur Sanders, maybe, or Dylan Gabriel if he, gets healthy again. But that could be a weird one.
They have like 5 QBs.
They have like 5 QBs. They got Kenny Pickett. They picked up Huntley. Tyler Huntley too. So who really knows? I mean, obviously a few of them are going to be cut before the season actually starts, but that just seems like this year for the Browns, unfortunately, just kind of seems like a year where, they still are on the Deshaun Watson saga and the contract with that. So this almost seems like a transitionary year. So let's hope that bodes well for the Jets and we pull that one out. Now, the Pats Monday Night Football, look, I mean, maybe just because I fucking hate the Patriots, but I really don't. I kind of think everyone is overhyping the Patriots here. I think they're going to be better. Don't get me wrong. But like this idea that they're going to be like second place in the division, like no problem. I think that's a little too strong here. I still think like Drake May, yes, showed signs of, brilliance in the first, in those games and last year and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm having, maybe it's just my bias against Boston teams as a Yankee fan as well with Boston. But I do feel like we could still play them tough. And I think we could squeak that one out because I feel like, I don't know. I still feel like Drake May hasn't played long enough to really, I feel like he could get rattled and, things can go our way. So I'm going to say we're going to win that one. Ravens, obviously we're going to lose that one. Falcons. Now, this is November 30th at this point here, and forgive me, I have not been keeping track of the week numbers. But Michael Penix, that whole thing seems fucking weird to me, so I'm going to say that they could win that one. So I'll give that one a W. Dolphins in New York, maybe Mike McDaniel is fired by that point. A lot of people feel like he might be the first coach to go, and people on FanDuel and DraftKings, I think, are betting that. So there's a chance that maybe they have a new head coach, and at that point, it's going to be December. So it might not be, that could be one for the taking here. And then things, lighten up a little bit for the next 2 weeks. But we do go to Jacksonville, and then we go to New Orleans. Now, Jacksonville, obviously, Travis Hunter, he could be a factor. Well, it remains to be seen how he's going to be able to, assume a role on offense and defense fully and play both fully. At that point, I'm sure we'll have a better idea of what his actual role is in the offense and defense. But other than Travis Hunter, I feel like that team is still basically the same in construction. And Trevor Lawrence, has kind of just, I think, shown who he is at this point. And I don't know if he's someone that is going to take the leap this year necessarily. So I think we could pull that one out. The Jets did beat the Jacksonville Jaguars last year when we were completely out of contention, and Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams had like the game of their lives as Jet fans or as Jets. But anyway, Saints, I'm gonna confidently say that one will be a win. And then we have two division games against the Patriots and Buffalo. Now, I feel like this Pats game could be close, but I will say that we probably will split against the Pats. So I'll say maybe they take that one. And then Buffalo, I feel like that could be a game where Buffalo is trying to fight for the 1 seed against Kansas City. So I don't see us winning that game, especially because it's in Buffalo. And I'm having flashbacks to the year that the Jets could have made the playoffs with Fitzpatrick, and we lost to Rex Ryan in Buffalo to basically seal the deal on our chances of making the playoffs. I believe that was 2015. So anyway, all that to say, I know I was just rambling a lot here, but I do think the Jets I think they'll show signs of improvement, but I'm not necessarily sure that the record is going to indicate that. So I kind of see a similar thing, Derek, at least, with our teams, where I feel like the Jets are probably going to finish 7-10. That's kind of what I'm feeling. But I could see a lot of these games being competitive. Some of the ones that I was saying that could be wins. I most certainly could also see them be losses, but maybe they'll be super close. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, just how I feel about my team, just kind of going off the cuff here and looking at the schedule and just kind of seeing how it's going to shake out.
Yeah, looking at the schedule, it looks a lot easier opponent-wise, like the Giants schedule that we just looked at. This Jet one, there's a lot of wins. Forgetting about the Jets themselves for a moment, a lot of wins to be had. And just like the first 7 weeks, now granted the Denver game is a neutral site game, but you only have 2 road games. So 5 of your first 7 are you're either the home team or again, kind of that neutral site game. But and it's not as if like going to Tampa or going Miami, which interestingly back-to-back weeks, it's not like that's like an imposing place to go,
right?
From like just a stadium fan perspective. No disrespect to the Bucks and Dolphins fans, but especially in September.
Yeah.
It's like just even towards the end of the year at Jacksonville, at New Orleans for a team that's probably going to be way out of it. Like,
yeah, especially at that
there's
point.
wins on the schedule for the Jets. The bye comes in week 9. So it's kind of split, whereas the Giant one comes pretty late.
Yeah.
The Jets is pretty much split right down the middle. So yeah, I mean, that first week is just so intriguing with Rodgers going back to MetLife and then Fields taking on
his old team
the
as well,
team that he was on last year.
Yeah.
So, and to me, that's a huge game because if the Jets do lose that game, you really could then be possibly looking at a pretty shit record from there, possibly. Just because look, like you said, Jets have played the Bills tough, especially at home.
Yeah,
but at Tampa Bay's tough. At Miami, that's not going to be easy. Cowboys, while they may not be a juggernaut, they should be a solid team. You got Denver, and then it lightens up a little bit with Carolina. Like that, the first 8 games, generally speaking, to me, are a lot tougher than the final 9.
Yeah.
Yes, you do have at Baltimore in there, which is like extremely difficult. And then, of course, it's interesting. At Buffalo the last week of the season, there is a world where Buffalo may have nothing to play for.
That
possibly,
too,
where the division's completely wrapped up, and maybe their seeding is also locked in too. There is a chance for that. So just looking at the schedule, there are wins here for sure. Now the AFC North, that is tough. I would say, besides the home versus Browns game, that's not division, but you also face the NFC South, which if you were to have your choice of any NFC division to play, you would probably choose the South.
You probably would. Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Not nearly as many primetime games for the Jets as there was in the Aaron Rodgers era.
Do you think that I'm being too pessimistic at a 7-10 record? It's just, I guess, obviously my Jet fandom has probably misconstrued my. Okay, so you kind of feel the same way.
I think that and maybe 8-9.
8, yeah, right. That would be. I mean, I almost would be ecstatic if we got 8-9. To be honest.
Yeah. But it really depends because things can just kind of blow up on. It's weird how it works. Where, and we've both seen it. For our teams, where when it starts out bad, the whole thing kind of goes to shreds. Even if you had winnable game, that's why the win-loss game, it's fun, but it's tough because you don't know. There's so many different variables involved, and so I really think that. You don't want to place too much emphasis on it, but that week 1 Steeler game, I think, is really, really important. I think to find a way to win that game, and I do think that they certainly can, like you said. But if you somehow don't, could be in a little bit of trouble. Yeah. As far as that September schedule.
Yeah, we got to pray that somehow we could upset the Bucks or something like that. I feel like,
right?
Or
not to say that the Jets couldn't win that game, but if I had to take a guess on it right now, I would probably say Tampa.
Yeah, me too. Especially that time of year. It's still it's still hot out. Yeah. It's down in Tampa. I just feel like I don't know. Yeah, I could easily see a Baker to Mike Evans, a few of those huge passes to really just crush us, but we'll see.
And that and that all said, like I said before, again, MetLife Stadium has never exactly been kind to the occupants of those, right? The confines in East Rutherford, but you do have that going as well. Mm-hmm. You're not seeing the road. I mean, of course you're going to Europe, but in week 6, but. It's pretty much a pretty comfortable situation. And here's the thing, too, with the Jets, they don't fly. That's crazy. They don't fly out west, at all.
No. Yeah.
It's the way it works out. Because they don't play either of the Western divisions.
Yeah,
so it's
crazy.
pretty easy from a travel sense.
Yeah.
Not overly taxing.
Not at all. Yeah, I'm trying to look here. I mean, what's the furthest we go? I mean, New Orleans, I guess. I mean, that's
New Orleans, right?
That's crazy. Yeah.
You have the 5 Florida. You have the 5 Florida road games: Bucks, Dolphins, and Jaguars.
Right.
But
yeah, and then
I mean,
wow. We'll see, man. I mean, it would be awesome to somehow snap this curse that we have of 14 years without going to the postseason. I mean, I would, obviously in professional sports at this point now.
In the 4 professional sports. Yeah,
so, I mean, it would be nice to somehow break it this year. I mean, I guess there's a chance, I mean, the way, football is random like that. And there's always a few teams that, squeak in and a few teams that were in it that you're convinced we're going to do it again and then they get bounced. So, I mean, there's a chance, but look, it's just I don't know. It's still the Jets, and I hate to be like that. Justin Fields, look, I mean, I want to be high on him, but it's clear, he kind of is who he is at this point too. There's going to be flashes. There's going to be, him breaking a 50-yard scramble and going to the end zone for a touchdown, and everyone's going to be like, holy shit, oh my God, this combined with Garrett Wilson, who knows? But, it's, I don't know. I just feel like this is also going to be kind of a year to feel things out, kind of similar to the Giants. You're hoping that you can get a few more wins than you did last year and kind of build upon that. And, take it from there. So, I'm just hoping personally that we could beat Aaron Rodgers week 1. That would be, that is like my, that would make my season if we're able to at least do that and do it in a way that's convincing and just kind of end this whole oh, well, it just was all the dysfunction around me and I have no accountability, meaning Aaron Rodgers blaming everybody else except for, himself to an degree.
It's going to set a tone for the season.
So we'll see, man. But I mean, so look, we'll see what happens with our New York teams here. But, just for the hell of it here, just as we kind of wrap things up here, I thought maybe we could just kind of go down each division and just kind of think just kind of talk about what we kind of see things kind of shaking out here, just in terms of teams that maybe are going to kind of take that next step and teams that might take that step back. You want to just start with the NFC East just because, we are a Giants channel. So, I guess just talk to me. Is there any kind of shakeup that you see with can you see maybe, Dallas or, Philadelphia, I guess that's where we should start. Do you think Philadelphia will not be in first place this year? Is there a world where that
will?
Okay. Yeah.
I think they will. They may not be as dominant as they were last year. They may, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I look at this division and I think the Eagles will be in first.
Yeah.
I think with the Commanders, I really do believe that there might be some regression with them.
Yeah.
Their defense was not very good last year. Now, look, maybe their offense takes a dip and the defense gets a little bit better. Those things could easily happen. But I think that Washington, while generally speaking, clearly they're no longer what they were. They're not this horribly run organization. I guess I'm torn on who, I do think the Giants probably finish in last. I think the Eagles finish in first. As far as who's second or third, I can see it going either way and Dallas in a lot of ways, they're probably on the decline as well, but I still don't see Dallas being a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my thoughts on the NFC East.
So how about we do this just to keep it? So let's say that you're going to do all the NFC here, and then I'll do the AFC. So let's in terms of just the standings, and then we'll take it from. So let's go ahead.
I'm gonna go. Because I don't want to go completely chalk. I'll say Eagles first. I'm going to go Cowboys second, Commanders third, Giants fourth.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And this is just straight looking. This is not even looking at anything else. Just straight off the dome.
Yeah, we're just going off the dome. We're just going with our guts here. You know what I mean? Like no one in the comments, berate us because, there's some statistic that we're missing. We're just going off of our heart as people that love and watch football. And, that's it. So, take it with a grain of salt, whatever you want to do. And sorry if we're upsetting you if we're talking about your team and shitting on them. So, all right. So then let's move down to the NFC North here. How do you see this one? This division there really could truly be a shakeup here, I feel like. But you tell me.
So NFC North, pretty strong, like 1 through 4.
Right. They might be the strongest division in football. It's up there.
Be.
Yeah.
They might be. And of course the Giants play that division 3 straight weeks. So I'm going to say Detroit first. Not to say that it's going to be a runaway, but I'm going to say that the Detroit Lions finishing first, NFC North.
Yeah.
I feel pretty strongly that the Green Bay Packers finish in second.
Yeah.
I
could see that.
I think it's going to be between the Lions and the Pack for the first 2 spots. Where it gets tough for me is 3 and 4.
How do you feel about like JJ McCarthy? Do you think this JJ McCarthy thing is going to work at all, or do you because
it could be a bit it could be a bit problematic.
Yeah, me too.
But then again, Kevin O'Connell has been a bit of a QB whisperer.
He has.
Kirk Cousins had really good production with him, and Sam Darnold was as good as we've ever seen.
14 wins
under
crazy.
O'Connell.
Yeah.
So, with the Bears, they could fluctuate heavily. Like things could, with Ben Johnson, it could work out really well, or it could just flop.
Yeah.
I will go with Vikings in 3rd, Bears in 4th.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same way. I just feel like Chicago, just like the Jets. So don't yell at me, Bears fans. But, it's just that organization just kind of thrives on dysfunction. And I hate to be like that, but I really could see that this whole Ben Johnson, offensive genius QB guru with Caleb Williams not really panning out the way that people, I think, were expecting it to. But, we'll see. But that's definitely in a division that I feel like a lot could change, because I do also feel like Detroit, I agree with you that they probably will end up in first place, but I think there is a world where they take a major step back just with losing both coordinators and, just the kind of the changeover there. I could see them maybe not being as successful as they've been the last 2 years, but we'll see.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, Detroit, it's not like it's a definite.
Yeah.
But I think push comes to shove. I just,
they're the team to beat still, I think. Yeah.
And look, Green Bay versus Detroit head to head, Green Bay can definitely go toe to toe with them.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
And that could go a long way too.
Absolutely.
In the NFC North.
Jordan Love, look, he was kind of banged up last year, I think 2 times. I mean, obviously he got hurt week 1 against the Eagles in Brazil, but then I think he got banged up again, if I recall. But he wasn't 100% is my point. So. No. There is definitely a world where Green Bay, I definitely agree with you that those two are probably going to be the ones competing this year for for first place in the division. So we'll see. But okay, so now let's move down to, all right, let's do, I guess, the shittiest division in the NFC. Let's just go to the NFC South and just, I guess, this one, again, just because there is a lot of new things happening, Michael Penix's first, full season as the quarterback here. Saints obviously have Tyler Shuck after Derek Carr retires. Carolina, they kind of had a little bit of a comeback at the end of the year with Bryce Young and started to kind of look good. And so, I guess I'm just curious to see what you think about this division.
So the South.
Yeah.
I'm going to say first place, and I feel fairly confident about this, but the South is always, it's a strange division for sure. I'm going to say that the Bucs finish in first in this division. Yeah. I just think that offense is dynamic, led by Baker Mayfield, and I just think that that will sort of power them to winning this division, and they have the capability. They've done well against pretty good teams. They may lay an egg against a bad team, but they've shown they can really play pretty good brand of football, even if they don't win against some of the juggernauts. Yeah. Second place here, and again, part of this is a little bit wanting to kind of like stir it up, even if maybe it's not. I'm going to go with
Be a little controversial. Fuck it. Yeah.
A little bit. And you know what? Sometimes we fall victim of like, they kind of finished the year before strong and they might carry the next year. I'm going to play into that, even though a lot of times it doesn't happen. I'm going to say the Carolina Panthers finish in second.
Okay. Wow. That is bold. Yes.
Yeah. I think I liked look, Bryce Young, I thought he actually looked pretty good down the stretch.
He really did.
And a lot of this speaks to the NFC South as well, right? Like, I'm not saying the Carolina Panthers made the playoffs. I'm not saying that, but I think that they finished in second. Now, the other team that was close would be the Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons could easily finish in second. I'm going to say the Falcons finish in third. Michael Penix, a little bit of an unknown. And, he showed some flashes in the few games he played last year. But for this exercise, we're going to say they finished third. And then I think the Saints are going to be in last place in the South. And I feel pretty good about
love
that.
it. I do feel like Carolina is kind of due for like a kind of, comeback season of sorts here. So I totally am behind what you're preaching over here. So, okay, cool. So now let's round it out with the NFC West, which again is another division where I feel like there could be a lot of shakeup here because obviously San Francisco last year was a bit of a disappointment. They're coming back. The Rams, Stafford's been hurt. We don't really know what's going on with that. Is it going to be Jimmy G for the first couple weeks of the season here? And what is that going to look like? And then obviously Seattle got rid of Geno and they picked up Sam Darnold. They have Cooper Kupp, who used to be on the Rams, who's, So, what do you think about this division?
Yeah, the West might be the toughest to project. And honestly, that's a division that's kind of trending down a little bit. So like where, got to say the South's probably the worst in the North, but like the West isn't great. To me, the North and the East are the two best divisions in the NFC. NFC West, like this is the toughest one for me to pick a winner in the division. Man.
Especially because Stafford is such a question mark.
Exactly. And that's not great. No. And that may actually kind of factor into my decision here.
I don't blame you.
Man. Wow. This is a tricky one. You know what? I don't feel that great about it. And I don't think the record's going to be that great. I'm going to say that the San Francisco 49ers finished in first in this division.
I mean, I get that.
And that could be the Stafford injury influencing me, right? Because if not for that, I may have said Rams first.
Right.
But due to that injury, I'm going to go with the Niners.
Okay.
Finishing first in this division. I think that they're going to be hungry. Now, look, they got a little bit of a different looking team as well.
Yeah.
With some departures, some pretty significant departures. But I believe in John Lynch and Mike Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
The funny thing too, though, is like if you told me the Niners finished last, I wouldn't be completely shocked by that.
It wouldn't be, especially because these last couple of years with the 49ers, it's like they either are like decimated by injuries and they don't make the playoffs, or they go 13-4 and they're right in the mix and maybe playing Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Like it's very hit or miss with them. So I get it.
Man, that's the one I feel least strongly about for sure.
Yeah. So okay, but all right. So for right now, this is also early August, so we have a right to alter these. Maybe we'll
like as I'm saying,
I was gonna say maybe you and I powwow like halfway through the season and see how things shake, and we can kind of like see how our standings kind of played out here. But okay, so San Francisco won.
I'm gonna say San Francisco won. Second, I'll go with the Rams.
Okay.
I'll go with the Rams, but again, that's another one that could go, who knows where that goes, but I'll go with the Rams and look like they could easily win this division.
Yeah.
Number 3, I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals for the third spot in this division. They're not going to be a team that wows you, but I think that they're solid. I think that they were a team that was, if nothing else, decent last year. And then number 4, not that they may be maybe the best of the number 4 teams. Well, maybe I don't know. I said the Bears are fourth. We're gonna go with the Seattle Seahawks being the fourth place team in this division. Sam Darnold in. I don't know how he does in Seattle necessarily. They've made some moves. Different looking squad. So I'm going to say the Seahawks finish in fourth.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that is a tough one. That is definitely, like you just said earlier, I feel like the NFC West is almost like it's like four teams that are kind of like, I don't want to see mediocrity, but it's just like, like I feel like there's no standout. So yeah, like I almost feel like this might be the hardest one out of the four that you've kind of laid out here in terms of like how things can shake out, because I feel like it really could
literally go the opposite.
It literally could go the opposite, and we wouldn't be shocked at all, So
no. NFC West, though, what I will say, like I said before, like this was a division that I looked at a few years ago, said, wow, NFC West, like that is a really strong division. Not as much anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like generally no one is a joke, in my opinion, but also like these aren't teams that I necessarily like as far as Super Bowl contending goes.
Right.
Like
no number one seeds of the NFC
I don't
here,
know.
I don't think. None of them are going to get the first round bye in the playoffs.
Exactly. I'm looking more to the Eagles. I'm looking more to the Lions, the Packers, maybe even the Bucks.
Yeah.
Like than some of these squads out west.
Gotcha. Nice. Sounds good, man. That's a solid list. I mean, I feel like I kind of agree with you on most fronts here, but it's it's always fun to kind of look back and then see what's going to happen here. So, all right, here we go. So I'm going to do the AFC. I guess I'll start with the AFC East as well, because we were talking about the Jets earlier, and kind of just see how that shakes out. I mean, I feel like we both agree that Buffalo is going to be the number one, first place in the AFC. I kind of feel like that doesn't really have to be explained all that much, but Josh Allen, reigning MVP, has been in the playoffs the last 5 years, I think. I think Kansas City's the only one that has more consecutive playoff appearances than them. So I feel like they're going to keep continuing that, especially because I think the other three teams I'm going to list are not really quite in the same league as them. So second place here, this is an interesting one because it's hard, because I do feel like Miami is not going to be as good as they've been. I also feel like New England is not going to be as good as people are hyping them out to be. This is tough here because, as someone that has predicted the Jets to go 7-10, it doesn't really make much sense for me to put them second place. So I feel like I have to choose either New England or the Dolphins. I guess, you know what? Fuck it. It's hard for me to say this out loud, but I guess I'll go with the Patriots number 2. Wow. Because, look, Mike Vrabel, I'm currently down here in Nashville, Tennessee. I saw the Tennessee Titans under Mike Vrabel and saw how he basically took Ryan Tannehill to all these extreme heights. And, they were the number one seed at one point. It was the year that Joe Burrow made the Super Bowl, and they actually played Tennessee in Tennessee and beat them and stuff like that. So, even though I feel like they're going to be overhyped, I could still see a world where they are second place in the division. So I'm going to do that. And you know what? Fuck it, man. My Jets, we deserve a little love. I mean, not that I'm really giving them all that much love, but I'm going to say that they finish in third this year. I do think that there is going to be a trend upward. I don't think it's going to result in a bunch of more wins, but I could see the Jets kind of just, kind of riding the ship a little bit here and getting that fixed. Now, Miami kind of seems like a dumpster fire to me. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that they're gonna finish in last place. I could see a world where Mike McDaniel gets fired. Tyreek Hill, clearly last year after they didn't make the playoffs, he wanted out, and it seems like it's kind of been a piece of drama in training camp as of late. I know Tua spoke on it, the fact that Tyreek Hill said all those things last year, and Tua was basically implying like you can't say all that stuff and then expect to just come back and everything be all hunky-dory. So there could be a little bit of drama there. I do Devon Achane is a stud. So, there are some tools on offense there that could prove to be a little scary. But, they got rid of Jalen Ramsey. They did get Minka Fitzpatrick in that trade, though. So, but, yeah, it just seems like the Dolphins, they kind of, like, blew their load, not to be vulgar. But I feel like their chance to do something significant was the last 2 years. And clearly they could not get over the hump with like the cold weather and obviously Tua getting his head caved in and like could never play more than 5 games before he got his head caved in. So I'm going to just say that. So I'm going to go, okay, so Bills, Patriots, Jets, Dolphins. That's what I'm going to say. How do you feel about that? Do you kind of agree?
Kind of. I mean, basically it's like the Bills seem like the obvious first team of the division, and then it's like a free for all. I could see two through four could go any which way.
Yeah, I agree too. It really could. And in all likelihood, the Jets will finish in 4th, even though I'm trying to bump them up to 3rd. But we'll see. I mean, you never know. But
I don't think that any of those teams. Like, I think that the AFC East sees one playoff team.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would be shocked if it's 2. That would mean something crazy happened. Yeah. So okay, we pretty much agree on that. Okay, I'm going to move down to the AFC North here now. This one, with the addition of Aaron Rodgers, makes this one a little bit more interesting. DK Metcalf as well on the Steelers. But I still feel like the Ravens are going to get first place just because their roster is loaded. They still got Derrick Henry. They still have Lamar Jackson. So they're going to be putting up points. So I feel like I'm pretty confident in locking in Baltimore as first place. Now, this one is, kind of similar to the AFC East where I feel like, I should take that back a little bit. I could see Pittsburgh and the Bengals kind of being interchangeable here. Just because Cincinnati obviously always gets off to these really rough starts and is always in a hole and they always have to constantly climb out. And especially last year, their defense was so abysmal, minus Trey Hendrickson, who might not even be on the team this year because he's still holding out. So who knows about that? Right. And Pittsburgh, with Aaron Rodgers coming into the picture, I could see somewhat of a bump there. But all right, so gun to my head, I'm going to go Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and then the Browns. I think that's a pretty fair assessment of the quality of these teams and kind of where I see them in relation to the rest of the league. But yeah, what do you think? Same kind of thing for you?
Totally agree with that.
Okay.
Totally agree with that. Yeah.
Cool.
And I think the Bengals are a team, I think that they are going to do better.
Me too. I do think they're going to.
So good. That to me, the Bengals should be a playoff team. I totally agree with this. I think the Ravens are the class of the division. Bengals in second.
Yeah.
Steelers, definitely. I agree with third.
Yeah.
But I'm not so bullish on the Steelers. They're always in the mix.
Yeah.
Right. They're always, at least 500.
I was going to say.
Type team.
Side note, gun to your head. Do you think that this is going to be the first year that Tomlin doesn't get his above 500 record or 500 or above? Do you think it finally breaks here with Aaron Rodgers, which would be super monumental? Because if they are going to be third in the standings here, there is a chance.
It could.
Yeah.
That's such a.
I mean, yeah. But, yeah.
You know what? I'm still going to say that barely.
Just
they'll
right
go
over.
9-8.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I can see 9-8.
But again, it's a tough one. It really is.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's move on to probably the shittiest division in the NFL, period. This year is going to be the AFC South. Really not a lot of great contenders here. I will say, though, I do think that Houston will probably still get that first place in the AFC South because I do feel like they are a formidable team. Hey, they've been in the divisional round the last 2 years. C.J. Stroud has 2 playoff wins. Even though last year was not that great of a year for him, he still managed to squeak out a victory against the Chargers and stuff like that. So credit to him. So I will say that the Texans will be in first place. Now, this is where things just get crazy here. So this is where I'm going to take a bit of a leap of faith that you did earlier. And I'm actually going to say that the Tennessee Titans are going to finish second in the division. Now, Cam Ward might be the most non-talked about first pick of the draft quarterback ever. I feel like there's been no coverage on this kid, especially because of all the Shadur Sanders stuff and him falling out and stuff like that. I've seen a little bit of the training camp footage and stuff like that down here in Nashville. And, with one of my other gigs, I got to, we got to interview Tony Pollard and a couple of these other guys. And it seems like they all are very high on Cam Ward. And he seems like he's a guy that is like serious about just playing fucking football and like nothing else. For lack of a better person to come to mind, it does remind me a little bit of like a Kobe Bryant, where he's just like, like this is like my life is football. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's going to be Kobe Bryant, so pump the brakes. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of like his dedication to the like, he does not seem to want any of the fame and the notoriety that I feel like people like Shadur Sanders and stuff like that definitely cling towards more. So I could really see this team like shocking some people here. Now, I mean, I will admit that the rest of the roster is not that great. So it's going to be a struggle. So, but you know what? Fuck it. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to say that the Tennessee Titans will be one of these surprise teams this year. Not that they're going to shatter anything, because I still, again, reminding everybody, the AFC South, we're agreeing, is going to be the shittiest division in football. So we're talking about like, these instances in the past with the NFC South, right? Like Cam Newton, right? They made the playoffs when they were 7-9. You know what I mean? And things like that. Like, so this is what I'm imagining for the AFC South. So when I'm saying that the Tennessee Titans are going to be in second place, like take what I'm saying there and like, apply that to my logic here. So anyway, Jacksonville Jaguars, I know everyone is hyped about this new coach and like Duval or whatever the fuck he did, which was like really creepy and weird. And I know Travis Hunter is like, seems like a fucking stud. And I think he will be a stud, but it's just hard for me to imagine that he alone is going to make this Jacksonville Jaguars team like way better than they were last year. It just seemed like, I don't know, again, like, I think I talked about this earlier. Trevor Lawrence, to me, he is what he is at this point. Clearly a disappointment in regards to where he was hyped up to be when he first came out. And like, people were comparing him to Andrew Luck and stuff like that. I feel like he's just not like, I guess the way that I'm describing Cam Ward earlier about being so locked into football and stuff like that, this guy, Trevor Lawrence, was basically saying the opposite a few years ago, where he was like, football's not my only love and stuff like that. And that's totally fine, but I just feel like that's totally fine to have that perspective. But when you're playing against people that their whole life is football, to me, you're going to then not, you're not going to rise to the top. But that's just my opinion. So, okay, Texans, Titans, Jaguars, and then I think the Colts are going to be awful. I don't know. I just feel like this Anthony Richardson thing is just like kind of been a failure. I think he got banged up again recently, I read. Daniel Jones, I just feel like, again, he's another example of he is who he is at this point. And I don't know. I just don't have any faith in that team. Yes, they have Jonathan Taylor still, so I guess there is that chance that, maybe he can kind of carry them somewhat, a la Adrian Peterson with a couple of those Viking teams in the past, but I just don't see it. I just feel like this is going to be one of those years where the Colts are like actually really bad. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say Texans, Titans, Jaguars, Colts. Now, how do you feel about that? Because I feel like this is definitely one where I am maybe changing it up from what people are kind of saying. So
this one is almost like the AFC East in the sense where the first place team is obvious, and then it really could go any which way, 2 through 4. The second place team in this division could honestly have like a 6-11. I mean, it could have a terrible
That's what I'm
record.
saying. And that's why I feel like the Titans could totally have that and still be in second place. Yeah.
And a lot of their wins just come against each other.
Right. Exactly.
That's about it. I generally do agree with you. I think that, I don't know. I don't think we've heard the last of Trevor Lawrence. Okay. Like, I think that, this is a huge year for him. I still think he has a chance to be a pretty good quarterback. Yeah. And so with that in mind, I could see Jacksonville maybe finishing in second. Possibly. You had them in third, right? So it's really not that much of a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm with you as well. The Colts, like, I don't really like that Colt team much. I'm also kind of biased because, like, we fucking beat them
And Daniel Jones, who like spurned you for like, the last 4 or 5 years. It's like, okay, like, now he's on that team. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like Anthony Richardson, it's a bit of a mess there. So, but a pretty weak division.
Yeah. Pretty weak division overall.
I mean, even the Texans, like they're pretty solid. They're pretty good. And clearly they are the number one team in that division, but like, they're probably in a lot of ways
we didn't even
worst of the division winners in the AFC.
Exactly. And it just came to me, but Joe Mixon, right, out for, considerable amount of time. Yes. Now Nick Chubb is stepping in. Right. I guess it's an extra year now off that horrific injury and stuff like that. So there's a chance that Nick Chubb could still be pretty good, but all that to say is that they might still be kind of middle in the pack-ish as well. Like I could see 10-7 for them, and they get into the playoffs easily with a 10-7 record. So, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting with the AFC South. But okay, and then last but certainly not least, AFC West, which is definitely a division now that is very interesting. I read something a few days ago that this is like the first division where each coach has made the Super Bowl or something like that. I might be wow. I might be misquoting it slightly, but it's something like that because
that could be exactly what it is.
Exactly, yeah, because obviously Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, Andy Reid, and Sean Payton. So in terms of coaching, this might be the most stacked in terms of that. So it's going to be interesting. Now, a lot of people are kind of, I think the NFL media is just trying to shake things up because Kansas City has been so dominant, the last 6 or 7 years at this point. But I still feel like they are going to still pull this out and be in first place in the division. Might be a little bit tougher this year, but look, man, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and I really don't care what anybody says. He's incredible. He always finds a way to win. I mean, a la Brady, it's the same kind of thing. Even when they had some of those shitty Patriots teams, like Brady would always find a way. So, and I feel like their offense is going to be better this year. Hollywood Brown is going to be back fully healthy and stuff like that. Xavier Worthy kind of turned it on towards the end of the year, and I think he could be better. Obviously, the Rashee Rice thing is a little concerning, but Kelsey's still there. Pacheco will be back. So we'll see. So anyway, we got the Chiefs at number 1. Now, this is where things get a little weird for me. Do I really want to take a swing here or not? This is where things can get a little bit tough for me. Fuck it. Gosh. All right, I'm not going to go to complete craziness. I think I'm going to go Denver 2 here. I think Sean Payton and Bo Nix clearly have a thing going here, and it seems like another year in the system, it's just only going to make things better for them. They play people tough. So I'm just going to stick with them at number 2. The Chargers are, again, one of these teams that everyone just keeps hyping up like crazy, but I don't know. To me, I have to see it to believe it with Justin Herbert and really taking that next step. There's been too many Charger losses in Justin Herbert's career, so I feel like he's also cursed. But they'll be good enough, I think, to still be within the 500 range. So I'll give them 3. And the Raiders, I mean, even though they have Geno Smith and they have Pete Carroll and obviously Ashton Genty, who is going to be a focal point of that offense, like Pete Carroll likes to do. I could see them getting 6 or 7 wins, but I don't really think that it's going to be anything more than that. I don't think they're going to go in and beat these top caliber teams. So I'm going to go Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders. Anything different for you?
This division might be the best in the AFC. I mean, it would really be between the West and the North. Maybe the North in the top 3 sense, the North is better, but from a top to bottom, I think it's definitely the West.
Yeah.
In this conference. I think the Chiefs finish in first, but maybe not necessarily overwhelmingly. I think that they're a lock to make the playoffs. It's the best bet to make the division, but I don't know. Sometimes they'll have some sleepy sort of regular season, then just kind of turn it on come playoff time.
Right.
But I think you still got to go with the Chiefs. Agree. I would probably land on Denver second. And then the chalk would then tell you Chargers 3, Raiders 4. Weirdly, like, I don't know, maybe it's the recency of the Slater injury for the Chargers, but I don't know, like maybe like with Pete Carroll coming in, like, you always see that head coaching bump, that
That's
happens.
true. Yeah. Especially with him
like,
too. He's.
I wouldn't be. I don't know. Like, on the one hand, you look at this and like the Raiders, they should for sure finish fourth. I don't know. Like, I could maybe see them, maybe finishing in third, possibly.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a world where that will happen. It's it's interesting because it's hard, I guess, to fathom that any of these coaches, like we were just talking about, finish in fourth place in their division because
it's such a
all of them are so, all these guys
have been around forever.
Right. They've been legendary for the last 15, 20 years. So tough to call, but that one is that division will definitely. It's very funny, right? It's like both South divisions are kind of like shit, and like who knows what the fuck's gonna happen. Then you got like these West divisions where it's like, you really could see like there's a plausible explanation for each of one of these teams. There really isn't. You know what I mean? Obviously, KC is KC, so maybe I'll omit them from this conversation, so to speak. But still, it's like. There's going to be a time where the Chiefs are not going to be in first place. I mean, I don't think it's going to be this year, but it will happen. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but whatever. Anything's possible. So, craziness, man. But it's fun getting to talk football, dude. And like, we're here, man. It's been kind of a dreary last couple months here, man. There's been other than baseball, but obviously, as everybody knows from this channel, the Yankees have been pretty awful and embarrassing, and so New York sports and things in general have not been so great. So to have football kind of back into the picture here is going to be great. It's going to be great, and don't get it twisted. We're still going to be paying very much attention to the Yankees. Especially with, only 40-something games left or whatever at this point here. So, guys, I guess we'll just wrap it up here, Derek. Thank you guys for listening. And, this is something a little bit different for Derek and I. So, in the comments section, let us know if you guys kind of like this kind of, new approach to the show here and kind of previewing some stuff and maybe doing some predictions on things. We're always trying to just grow this channel and, just want to make sure that we're putting out the best stuff for all y'all out there. Derek, as always, you do an amazing job with everything. Derek, if you guys are newcomers to the show here, Derek always covers Yankees, Giants, and Rangers. Those are his 3 primary teams in the New York sports world. But we have covered other teams, and we're going to start covering the Jets a little bit more here, just with the football season in full swing coming up. And so exciting things to come, guys. And Derek, is there anything else you just want to say before we wrap?
Yeah, no, Casey, great to have you on, and we're happy to, kind of go about it a little bit differently this NFL season, and it's going to be, sort of trial and error here and seeing what works. And happy to, obviously, we're still going to keep the Giants coverage going as always and incorporate some Jets, maybe incorporate some NFL at large as well.
Big trade line stuff. Yeah, we're going to play around with some stuff here.
Exactly. Yeah. And we just keep moving along. I mean, obviously, it's going to be a very fun time in the sports world. I mean, there's like a couple of times in the year where there's everything going on at once, and we're kind of hitting that point soon.
It's almost here, baby.
September, October, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that. So just excited.
Me too. So, guys, thank you guys so much for listening. If you've been listening for these last 2 hours or so, we really appreciate it. We'll have chapter markers within this video here so that you can jump around if you don't want to hear about this or that. But guys, appreciate you. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Derek will be Derek will be, recapping the Yankees series coming up this weekend here against the Astros, a big series. And, we'll be continuing to cover that. So that'll probably be the next video that comes in the docket after this. But we appreciate you all.
Yep, I'll actually be going actually be going to this Yankee Astro game. We're recording this on Friday afternoon. I'm going tonight, so nice. This is only I think I went to a couple of Yankee Met games. They won both of them at Yankee Stadium.
That's good.
So first Yankee Astro game I've gone to since the 2019 playoffs, wow. And now they got Carlos Correa back. So maybe the juice might be back a little bit, but the Yankees got to start playing better. But yeah. Yeah, so that's going to be some fun perspective as well, being at the stadium.
Yeah, sounds good, bro. Well, Derek, appreciate everything you do. And guys, thank you guys for listening. And we'll be in touch. Take care.